Asuma, a great archmage who once saved the world, was betrayed and eliminated by the very kingdom he protected. Reborn in a modern era where magic intertwines with technology, he carries with him burning vengeance and power that transcends time. Armed with ancient magic and the wisdom of a former ruler, he forges a type of magic never seen before. The game of revenge has only just begun. Yet Asuma is not a villain, he is the light of the royal capital, Grand Grier, the city of magic. At that time, mysterious creatures appeared in the sky. They struck fear and panic into the hearts of the people. It was Asuma, a great archmage, who fought and defeated them. Raising his hand, he conjured a massive orb of energy, its power surging directly toward the creatures. A tremendous explosion erupted, and the creatures were annihilated by his might. At that moment, another figure beside him congratulated Asuma on his victory. This was Kiro, a mage under his command. Asuma felt immense joy. He was grateful that humanity had been saved, and he thanked his comrades. The scene was heartwarming, filled with bright smiles and cheerful laughter. But behind those joyful faces lay a deep sorrow. In the capital of the Kingdom of Grandeur, during a ceremony commemorating the end of the Great Otherworldly War, Asuma stood before a figure of immense authority. The Emperor of Grand Gyre declared that Asuma would be eradicated right there and then. Asuma was utterly shocked and bewildered. After all, he was the one who had saved the world. They did not deny his contributions. Even the defeat of Omega, the great enemy, was thanks to Asuma's efforts. With his unparalleled power, he had swept away all threats and sealed the otherworldly gate. Yet, the Emperor of Grand Gyre deemed Asuma a threat to the kingdom. The words stunned Asuma, as if he could not believe his ears. The great otherworldly war had ended, and they now saw him as a mere tool. His terrifying power, once needed, was now considered a danger. The Emperor revealed that the celebratory wine Asuma had just drunk was laced with a forbidden poison capable of completely sealing all magic. All those he had once called comrades had betrayed him behind his back. The king then initiated a ritual incantation to destroy Asuma. In that moment, Asuma realized that all the other mages had gathered their mana to cast this spell. More importantly, he had never once harbored any intention of betraying the kingdom. Perhaps the emperor's prophecy was a lie, but no one dared defy his command. Asuma writhed in agony, blood streaming from his eyes and nose. In the end, all his sacrifices for the kingdom were deemed worthless. The beautiful memories of his time with his comrades shattered, they were nothing but a facade. Before his death, Asuma prayed that his soul would find its way to another life. And so, with the combined efforts of those he had once protected, Asuma was killed. The great Archmage was erased from existence. The world entered an era of peace, but that was 3,000 years ago. Time has passed. And now, in a grand building beneath a clear blue sky, Asuma's soul has been reborn into a new body. The appearance of this body bears a striking resemblance to the great Archmage Asuma. He sat up in a hospital bed, wondering where he was. From here, his journey of vengeance would begin. As Asuma stepped out of bed, a startled voice suddenly rang out. "What? How is this patient awake and standing so healthy?" At that moment, Asuma noticed the name on the hospital bed, Shobana Asuma. He sighed, "So, we share the same name." The doctors rushed over, visibly shocked. He was clearly in a vegetative state, there were no signs of recovery. "This is a miracle." One of them placed a hand on his shoulder. "Hey, kid." But Asuma was lost in thought. So, the reincarnation magic worked. I can even understand their language. Alright, he thought, first, I need to gather information about this world. Turning to the doctors, he asked, "Can you tell me the way to the nearest Grand Library?" The doctors froze, dumbfounded. At that moment, Asuma channeled his mana, a green light flaring in his eyes. The nurse, as if mesmerized, stared into his gaze and replied mechanically. "From the hospital gate, turn left and walk for about 5 minutes." The doctor beside her was stunned. "Why did you answer him like that?" Asuma, still curious, pointed to a pile of belongings nearby. "Are those mine?" The entranced nurse responded like a machine, "Yes, those are yours." The room buzzed with confusion. "Are you okay, kid? Wait, let me check you first." Moments later, Asuma was discharged and sat outside. His attention was drawn to a strange object protruding from a bag, a metallic device. Puzzled, he picked it up. "What is this thing?" Spotting a passerby, he quickly asked, "Excuse me, what is this?" The girl looked confused but answered, "It is a phone." Asuma stared at it like it was an alien creature. "A phone? He then cast an analysis spell on it. Understanding dawned on him. I see. This is a magical device that grants access to a vast amount of information. He stood, engrossed in the phone, swiping through it. Moments later, a train roared past. Now aboard the train, Asuma glanced around curiously. Looking out the window, he thought, I might not even need the library. Through analyzing this so-called phone, he had already grasped the basics of this world. With this magical device, people could communicate across vast distances and access all kinds of information. Asuma marveled, this did not exist in my time. But at least I know 3,000 years have passed since that day. It seems magic has waned. What had replaced it was called science, useful, but not particularly remarkable, almost akin to magic. A realization hit him, so, this is the society I destroyed Omega to protect. A fleeting sadness crossed Asuma's face. This is the world I sacrificed my life for. The scene shifted to the home of the young man Asuma had reincarnated into. Stepping inside, he surveyed his surroundings. So, this is where Shobana Asuma lived. His expression turned to shock as he spotted a family photo on a table. Don't tell me he lost his family. Nearby, he noticed a book on the table. Picking it up, he realized it was a diary. Its pages were filled with laments. I am so tired, I do not have a single coin left. Will I ever find happiness after death, and so on. Reading it, Asuma pieced together more. So, this is why the owner of this body was in the hospital. His life must have been tough. Suddenly, the phone vibrated with notifications. Threatening messages flooded the screen. Asuma, you idiot, go die, Asuma. Pay your debts, Asuma. Weakling Asuma. Give me your money. His eyes locked onto the phone, but one message caught his attention. Sebai Mage Training Academy. Shibuya Mage Academy. The scene shifted to the next morning at SB Academy. Asuma, dressed in a uniform, arrived at the school, drawing surprised stares. A few boys called out, Hey, you okay? Asuma, puzzled, replied, Am I not supposed to be here? They hesitated before explaining, Well, there were rumors about you. They said you could not handle the bullying from those guys and tried to take your own life. But you are here now, so. Suddenly, someone interrupted, Well, look who is still alive. I am thrilled. It was Tonori Kiryu, likely the bully the boys mentioned. Asuma's eyes widened in shock. Staring at Kiryu, he was reminded of his traitorous comrade from his past life, Kiryu, the fire mage. But this was just Kiryu, who now leaned in close, sneering. What the hell are you muttering about? He smirked arrogantly. Didn't I tell you I never wanted to see your face at this academy again? What happened? My magic nearly killed you last time. Kiryu conjured a small burst of magic to intimidate him. Lost your memory or something? He taunted, laughing excitedly. Want to experience it a few more times, you failure of creation. Kiryu's lackeys chimed in. That is enough, Kiryu. He is so scared he can't even speak. At least let him beg for mercy. Or better yet, take his money. Good idea, right? Asuma's mind clicked, recalling the threatening messages. Asuma, give me your money. He sighed, realizing this Kiryu was not his old comrade Kiryu, the fire mage. Perhaps a descendant. Asuma decided to test the limits of this new body. Let us see how much mana it has. Kiryu, confused, watched as Asuma clenched his fist. A surge of energy radiating toward him. Without hesitation, Asuma threw a punch straight at Kiryu's face, striking mercilessly. The scene shifted to a courtyard behind the school. Today was an important day. Professor George stood sternly addressing the students. This is the day of your ability test. It will determine the type of magic you wield, so give it your all. Nearby, Asuma wore a bewildered expression. Shobana-kun, Professor is called out, noticing his confusion. Looks like you still do not get it. Let me explain. In modern magic, your ability is shown through colors. Fire magic is red. Water magic is blue. And black represents dark magic. To use magic, you channel mana through your body's magical circuits. However, these circuits have limits, so typically, only one attribute is chosen. Listen carefully, whichever attribute suits you will be yours. Next, Asuma stood before Professor Is. What is your attribute? The professor asked. Asuma replied firmly, I do not have one. The professor blinked, confused. What? Asuma elaborated, I mean, I do not have any attribute, so I do not plan to specialize in one either. At this, Professor Is's face darkened with anger. Are you saying you have no attribute? The other students began whispering. He does not have one. Asuma thought to himself, colorless those without any attribute. His gaze drifted forward, but even if the mana was not visible, it was still there. It is a mistake to think this is a flaw. In this body, the magic within did not rely on a specific attribute to manifest. Professor is scoffed, people like you do not belong in this academy. He pointed his sword at Asuma, sneering. Why do you look so pleased? The blade grazed Asuma's chin as the professor mocked, you worthless thing. Asuma frowned, recalling the diary entries of the boy whose body he now inhabited. The world is against me. Professor is continued, being colorless means you have no attribute, so your magical capacity is pitiful. No matter how hard you study, it is hopeless. I bet you do not even understand the attribute badge on your chest. Asuma cut in, is that so? I think being colorless is the strongest. He locked eyes with the professor. Let me fight you, and I will prove that colorless is the most powerful. The students gasped in shock. Professor Is's face turned red with rage, veins bulging. Nonsense, he spat, raising his hand to announce a change to the ability test. From now on, there will be no limits in this trial. Glaring at Asuma, he declared, right now, I will face this fool who thinks colorless is the strongest. A bespectacled girl nearby whispered anxiously, how is this possible? No limits, and Professor George is the strongest among the faculty. This is too dangerous. Professor Is and Asuma faced each other. The professor gripped his weapon. Normally, practice duels end with minor accidents, so do not cry when you lose. Asuma, unfazed, retorted, who needs your concern? This only fueled the professor's anger, his eyes blazing with fury. Begin, he shouted. The students quickly chanted, signaling the start, as both took their fighting stances. In modern magic, not every professor can handle multi-attribute magic, is boasted. But I am the only one in this academy who can. He activated a spell, Fire Cannon, Thunderstrike. A surge of energy hurtled toward Asuma. But it was effortlessly blocked by a magical barrier Asuma conjured. Seeing this, Professor Is froze in disbelief. What? Asuma spoke coldly, multi-attribute, is that all? The professor's anger turned to unease. Impossible. He launched another attack. Only for Asuma to block it just as easily. Confusion and shock gripped the professor. Why? How is this happening? The students watching were equally stunned. Asuma stepped closer. Professor Is, still in disbelief, attacked again. This can't be. Asuma drew nearer, raising his hand to cast a spell. The professor swung his sword to block him. Stay back. But Asuma reached out, touching the blade. A massive surge of energy erupted from his hand. He placed it on the professor's shoulder, startling him. Now, tell everyone what you have done to me, Asuma demanded. The professor looked confused. Asuma's face darkened. Don't remember. His gaze turned menacing, leaning in threateningly. If you do not talk, I will reduce you to dust. Professor Is's face paled with fear. Asuma pressed, understand. Trembling, the professor confessed. I saw student Shobana being bullied, but I turned a blind eye. Even when he reported it to me, I beat him instead of protecting him. The surrounding students gasped. Some shouting, someone report this to the headmaster. Professor Is collapsed to his knees. Asuma stood over him, chuckling. He touched the attribute badge on his chest. How does it feel? He asked. Tossing the badge to the ground with a triumphant smirk. How does it feel to lose to a colorless like me? The academy buzzed with students moving to and fro as classes resumed. A group of boys began whispering among themselves. That is him, right? All eyes were on Asuma. How could a student pull that off? It is like he is a completely different person now. Asuma, however, paid them no mind, thinking only, finally, classes are over. He turned to the bespectacled girl sitting beside him. Hey, he called out. She jolted, wondering, what does he want? To her surprise, Asuma flashed a bright, cheerful smile. Thanks for explaining the attributes to me earlier. I really appreciate it. The girl blushed, flustered. No, it is nothing, she stammered. Suddenly, Asuma leaned closer. A scene straight out of a romance novel seemed to unfold. Actually, I need a favor, he said. Would you like to go out with me? The girl froze, eyes wide. Unbeknownst to them, they had become the center of attention. Her loud echoed, drawing more stares. Embarrassed but shyly agreeing, she soon realized. With a sigh, that going out meant touring the academy. This is where the clubs are, she explained, pointing as Asuma trailed behind her. And over there is the faculty area. They eventually reached the rooftop. Asuma spoke up, thanks for showing me around the academy. I hope I did not trouble you. The girl smiled, no trouble at all, though inwardly she thought, so that is what he meant. Disappointed, she chided herself, I was expecting too much. She suddenly hopped in place, startling Asuma. What am I even thinking? I was not expecting anything. Confused, Asuma asked, what is that about? Her face reddened further. Nothing, she squeaked. They continued. Shu then led him to a grand structure, the pride of the academy's efforts. This is the magic analysis room, she said. Students can use it if they register. Asuma crouched to inspect the equipment, then turned to her again. So this is how the academy works. Thanks for showing me around. The girl blinked, caught off guard. Huh. Asuma struck a gallant pose, like a character from a romance novel. I will definitely repay this favor, he said. Making her blush again, hesitantly, she spoke up. Shobana, are you really Shobana? Realizing her question sounded odd, she panicked. Sorry, that was a weird thing to ask. Asuma's expression shifted, the air around him growing heavy. With a gentle smile, he said, maybe it is because I just woke up. I barely remember anything. The girl sighed, sorry for troubling you with my weird questions. Inwardly, Asuma thought, not yet. It is not time. It is fine, he replied. See you later, he said as he turned and walked out. As he walked down the academy's hallway, Asuma reached the magic analysis room. Channeling his mana, he entered. Touching a screen, he activated an ancient magic analysis function. And a flood of system data appeared. Asuma studied it intently, combining ancient and modern magic. It is definitely possible. Satisfied, he decided, that is enough for now. I will register to use this tomorrow. Suddenly, a voice spoke. You are Shobana, right? Asuma turned, startled. I did not sense him. Who are you? The young man introduced himself. I am Kasuki from S4. Nice to meet you. Asuma's mind raced. S4, the strongest students in the academy. Kasuki grinned. I am one of them. Not that great, though. But you are colorless, right? Pointing at Asuma, he exclaimed, that is impressive. Referencing the incident with Kiryu, he added, you did the right thing. He deserved it. Spreading his arms, Kasuki continued, we are all equals here. Let us shake on it. Asuma stared silently. Kasuki pleaded, come on. They shook hands, and Kasuki said, looking forward to working with you. But Asuma sensed something off. What is this magic? Is he probing me? Kasuki's presence reminded him of Yaya from his past life. How can he wield modern magic so freely? Something's not right. As Kasuki prepared to leave, Asuma opened his mouth to speak, but Kasuki waved it off. Talk later, okay. Watching Kasuki's retreating figure, Asuma examined his hand. A sly grin spreading across his face. Things just got interesting. The scene shifted to the next morning at the academy. In the faculty office, Asuma handed over a piece of paper. Here you go, he said. The teacher took it and replied, all right, your request is approved. 3 hours starting at 4:00 p.m. today, correct? Later, Asuma sat in the lecture hall. With the bespectacled girl, Riria, beside him. She noticed his pensive expression as he seemed lost in thought. After class, Asuma returned to the magic analysis room. He touched the screen, observing, it is equipped with the most advanced technology, but I do not need that right now. What I need is a space and time to focus. His fingers swiftly tapped the interface, accessing ancient magic protocols. This is the ancient magic from my era. A secret technique only those born with magical talent could use. Its mechanism involved absorbing external mana, condensing it within the body's mana reservoir, and determining the type of magic to activate. The refined mana would then flow from the reservoir to the casting point. This unstable process was stabilized through a magic circle. The precision and elegance of the circle depended on the caster's skill. Mana would flow into the circle, activating the spell. However, only a select few could use ancient magic. Those without innate talent could not refine mana within their bodies. Asuma reflected, things are different in this era. The mana reservoir and casting point had been replaced by a biological structure called the magical circuit. Through an invention known as the smart wand, mana was automatically injected into the circuits, and a magic circle was artificially created to activate spells. In other words, the process had been simplified, making magic accessible regardless of innate differences. However, this mechanization reduced the power of modern magic compared to ancient magic. Naturally, without the smart wand, casting magic was impossible. Asuma smiled, I see. My goal, then, is to develop hybrid magic, a fusion of ancient and modern magic. To achieve this, he needed to master modern magic's highest level first. I must acquire all attributes. He typed rapidly, inputting calculations for the basic theory of his hybrid magic hypothesis into the quantum computer. This should do it, he thought as the screen began loading, processing the theory. Asuma stretched his shoulders. While I wait for the results, I will grab something to drink. Suddenly, he noticed the door glowing faintly. It slowly creaked open, growing wider. A force yanked Asuma upward into the open sky, free falling. Shocked, he thought, has the world turned upside down? This is an attack using modern magic, a targeted area spell. Where did it come from? I did not even sense it. His eyes widened as he recalled his encounter with Kasuki. Looking forward to working with you, he said. It must be him, Kasuki, the descendant of Yaya from his past life. Already making a move. Asuma clutched his head, so that is what he meant by getting acquainted. Activating his limbs, Asuma declared, fine, I will remind you of the hierarchy from our past life. Looking up, he saw creatures flying toward him. I am not being teleported into the sky, this is a perception-altering illusion spell. It felt like something Yaya would have crafted in his original form. Even after 3,000 years, some things have not changed. He continued plummeting. But if I keep falling like this, what happens next? Suddenly, Asuma's eyes widened at the sight before him. A swarm of black creatures rushing toward him. Artificial beings created by Yaya, they were pitch black. Asuma cast a spell, thinking, if I stay defensive, I will be stuck forever. I need to find Yaya's position. He swiftly dispatched the swarm. First, I will use a deceleration spell to stop this fall. But he froze as countless spiked black orbs appeared around him. Asuma raised his hand, casting again, but his spells seemed ineffective. I need to make them disappear before they explode. A blinding light flashed across the vast sky. Clasping his hands together, he realized, no time for a deceleration spell. Suddenly, Asuma was transported to another space. Where am I? I can't breathe. Outer space. At that moment, Kasuki, Yaya's descendant, appeared with a sly smile. Asuma eyed him warily as fireballs hurtled toward him. Frowning, he thought, one thing after another, it is endless. With a deep sigh, Asuma raised his hand, summoning magic. One by one, the fireballs shattered. Smirking, he said, Yaya, I got your message. Now it is my turn. Asuma unleashed a barrage of spells. One after another, shattering the golden stone constructs hurled at him. They crumbled under the force of his magic. A gravity-based attack like this is fairly easy to counter, he thought. But the vacuum environment was taking its toll. His eyes betrayed a hint of fatigue. If this continues, I will suffocate. Still, he could not help but admire. The precision of this spatial magic is remarkable, almost a work of art. Recalling his comrade from his past life, he mused, it is fitting for someone like Yaya, who always loved beauty. Asuma realized, that is exactly why there is a flaw. Knowing Yaya's personality, he was certain Kasuki would want to witness his demise firsthand. This is not a remotely operated spell, Kasuki must be nearby. His eyes scanned the surroundings. There has to be a vantage point he is using to observe me. I need to find the weak spot. Closing his eyes, Asuma plunged into a deep darkness, focusing his senses. Meanwhile, Kasuki, watching from an unseen location, chuckled. What is this, giving up already? He laughed, amused. But Asuma, eyes still closed, floated amid the fireballs, calculating. I will release the mana stored in my reservoir to the casting point. Suddenly, he snapped his eyes open, expanding his senses. A massive magical aura enveloped him, forming a radiant barrier. Kasuki, witnessing this, gasped in disbelief. Fireballs still swirled around Asuma, but he stood firm, his colossal magic circle pulsing. I will analyze this space, find the anomaly, and pinpoint his observation point. Closing his eyes again, he sensed a faint glimmer in the dark void. An image of Kasuki's shocked face appeared. Asuma's eyes snapped open. Got you. He raised his hand, casting a spell, and directing an attack in one precise direction. The illusions began to dissolve, and Asuma returned to the real world. He exhaled, so, it was just a perception-altering spell after all. Approaching a window, he opened it and leapt out, soaring into the air. Landing on the rooftop, he spotted Kasuki sitting casually. Asuma called out, found you. Touching down, He faced Kasuki and demanded. You cast that spell on me, did not you? Kasuki remained silent. Stepping down to meet him, Asuma pressed. Why are you trying to harm me? Weren't you the one who wanted to get acquainted? Kasuki shrugged, a playful grin spreading across his face. Like a child spotting candy. You are exactly as I imagined, he said. Asuma frowned, puzzled by the boy's behavior. Kasuki continued, brimming with excitement, the way you broke my illusion spell. And that chantless flight magic of yours, it is magnificent, truly spectacular. He clapped his hands. I did not expect someone to wield a magic circle like that. It is as beautiful as the frescoes on the Duomo's ceiling. He rambled on, but that is not all. Two glints of light flashed in Kasuki's eyes. Your disintegration magic was impressive. I want to understand the logic behind your magical circuits. Asuma stood silently, observing. Kasuki's grin turned sly. But what I really want to see is something truly beautiful shattering into pieces. A sudden surge of energy enveloped Kasuki. Asuma's eyes widened in shock. I did not sense another spell. This is Yaya's doing, is not it? Kasuki wasted no time, casting a modern spell, Meteor Shower. Sharp spikes rained down toward Asuma. He is controlling the wind to hurl construction materials. Asuma dodged nimbly, countering with a control spell. But then, his eyes widened in alarm. A spike pierced straight through his head, blood splattering. But if that is the case, it would end too soon. Asuma raised his hand, summoning a spell that deflected the barrage of sharp objects hurtling toward him. Kasuki watched, visibly thrilled. Almost had you. How long can you keep this up? A sudden buzzing filled Asuma's ears. As utility poles, propelled by intense gusts of wind, snapped and sent sparking wires flying toward him. Asuma dodged swiftly, frowning. So, he is trying to block all my escape routes and corner me. Every path was now obstructed by debris. He cast a spell to shatter the obstacles. But the flying rubble forced him to shield himself. Kasuki stepped forward, laughing loudly. Already at your limit, he taunted, watching Asuma struggle. Then he pointed upward. Asuma followed his gaze, eyes widening at the sight of an airplane plummeting toward him. Kasuki grinned like a blooming flower. This is my magic mystic realm. A relentless meteor shower of celestial stones, more beautiful than any work of art. He peered at Asuma through his fingers. Let us see how you handle this. Asuma activated his own magic. Kasuki raised a hand, declaring, now, bask in the glory of my masterpiece. His other hand reached into his pocket. Asuma's eyes caught the movement. Kasuki pulled out a sharp object, smirking wickedly. But this time, Asuma reacted in time, leaving Kasuki stunned. What? The sharp object slipped from Kasuki's control. You neutralized the spell meant to summon a massive civilian airplane. The plane, still hurtling forward, collided with other objects, triggering a massive explosion. Asuma stood firm, striking a confident pose. In the end, it was just an illusion spell, he remarked. A flash of light erupted, and Asuma effortlessly dispelled the illusion. Kasuki's face twisted in confusion. What, you saw through my dark aura? Asuma pointed at him. Yaya, I have exposed your scheme. Your meteor shower spell, manipulating wind to control objects, that was all a decoy. You used real objects like utility poles and metal plates to distract me, then conjured an illusion of a crashing airplane to divert my attention. In that moment, you launched magic-infused needles laced with a sedative. That was your real goal. Asuma smirked confidently. Your flashy meteor shower was just a cover to fool others. Caught off guard, Kasuki was momentarily speechless. Asuma continued, you tried hard, but it did not work on me. Kasuki suddenly shouted, no, impossible. No mage in the world could see through my spell's true nature. Staring at Asuma, he exclaimed, it is like you are that legendary Archmage from 3,000 years ago. Unbeknownst to him, that was exactly the truth. Asuma replied, you are skilled at hiding your magical traces, so I figured your finishing move would be something subtle and silent. In an instant, he closed the distance to Kasuki. Raising a finger, he said, you made one mistake. Pointing out the flaw, he added, you used too many spells in front of me, giving me plenty of chances to analyze them. Placing his hand on Kasuki's chest, Asuma activated a spell under Kasuki's astonished gaze. Kasuki gasped, what is this magic circle? Yet, he could not help but admire it. It is beautiful. Asuma focused, invoking an ancient spell, Chaos Suppression. A tremendous shockwave erupted, cracking the ground beneath them. Kasuki, caught off guard, staggered backward. He collapsed to the ground, but the earth remained undamaged. Asuma smiled, holding the sharp object in his hand. "Yaya, you were confident, but I have won." As the chaos subsided, Kasuki slipped into a dream, finding himself in the magical capital of the royal kingdom of Grandi. There, Yaya, Asuma's comrade from his past life, stood painting. He gazed intently at the canvas, where light seemed to radiate from the artwork itself. Someone approached him. "It is as if the light is truly emanating from this painting," they said. It was Asuma, the great Archmage. Yaya looked at him joyfully. "You have returned, my lord." Asuma smiled brightly, praising, "Another stunning painting, as always." Yaya beamed but humbly replied, "No, I still have much to improve." Suddenly, the clamor of other voices interrupted. "I defeated that Omega," one boasted. "No, it was my magic," Mi and Kyo bickered loudly. Yaya's expression darkened as he watched the scene. Without a word, he turned to leave, his mood sour. "I am off," he said curtly. Bowing respectfully, he added, "Lord Asuma, I am honored by your praise. Next time, please let me paint your portrait." Kiri and Mi, puzzled, watched him go. "He is so shy," they sighed. "Why is he always so moody?" In the palace, Yaya walked alone, lost in thought. "I do not fit in with mages who can't appreciate art. I do not even want to talk to them." His mind drifted to Asuma, cherishing their precious moments together. Suddenly, something caught his attention. Sino, leaning against a wall. "Sino, what is wrong?" Yaya asked. Sino glanced at him before speaking. "I have been summoned by the emperor and received an order from the empire." He leaned in, whispering something that made Yaya's face contort in shock. "No way," Yaya gasped, disbelief and horror mixing in his expression. "Lord Asuma, plotting a rebellion?" Sino nodded firmly. "Yes, the emperor's foresight is absolute." Yaya sank into despair. "Impossible. Lord Asuma betraying Grand Geyer, betraying us." His worldview crumbled. "This is not beautiful at all. How could Lord Asuma do such a thing? Why?" At that moment, Kasuki stirred from his dream. He stared at the ceiling, realizing he was in the infirmary of the modern mage training academy. Rubbing his head, he sat up, exhausted. It felt like a nightmare. A hand extended a bottle of water toward him. Kasuki's eyes widened in surprise. "Asuma, you are visiting me." Asuma, opening the bottle, explained. "It is electrolyte water with some sugar. You were groaning a lot earlier." Kasuki frowned, watching him. "Drink up before you collapse from dehydration." Cautiously, Kasuki asked, "Why are you helping me?" Asuma, recalling their recent clash, answered seriously. "You took my magical attack head-on. There is no way you were not injured." Kasuki stared, astonished but relieved to hear his magical circuits were intact, with no serious consequences. Pointing at the cloth in Asuma's hand, Kasuki noticed traces of wiped sweat. "Wait. Have you been taking care of me this whole time?" Asuma smiled gently. "I do not want to lose a talented mage." Kasuki's eyes widened in shock. He took the water, muttering, "Thanks." Then, hesitantly, he added, "Please do not think everyone in S4 is like Kiryu." His voice grew heavy. "He is skilled at magic, but I do not agree with his mindset." Asuma sat down, listening. Kasuki gripped the bedsheet tightly. "About Kiryu, I will apologize on his behalf. It seems he pressured you and tried to drive you out of the academy. I am truly sorry for not noticing sooner." Asuma watched him quietly, noting his remorse. Then he spoke. "Kasuki, you do not seem like a bad person. So, I will overlook your ambush attack on me." His gaze turned resolute. "But in return, let us make a deal." Kasuki's eyes widened. "A deal?" Asuma nodded calmly. "I want you to leave S4 and stay at this academy with me. Let us form a new faction together." Kasuki was stunned. A new faction. Inwardly, Asuma thought, Yaya, standing before me, has no memories of 3,000 years ago. I can use him. Right now, I am alone. To achieve my goals, I need allies. He spoke again. "I want you to walk this path with me, toward my goal." Kasuki looked at him with admiration. Then stepped out of bed. Kneeling respectfully, he smiled brightly. "As you wish, Asuma." Asuma, pleased and satisfied, grinned. Kasuki sat quietly, lost in thought. Strange, this used to be me, but not anymore. It feels like I have done something like this before. Asuma's attention suddenly shifted elsewhere. "Nurse," he called out, "I have caught you spying." The nurse flustered. Sorry, I did not mean to. Asuma waved it off and prepared to leave. I am heading back to class. Before going, he handed her a notebook. This is an analysis of his magical circuits. Take a look. The nurse peered inside, puzzled. Huh. Moments later, her eyes widened. This level of detail. She reached out to stop him. Wait, how about joining my lab as a special researcher after you graduate? Asuma smiled calmly. No thanks, I would rather stay at this academy. Kasuki watched Asuma's retreating figure in silence. The scene shifted to the magic analysis room. Asuma was back at work. Despite the earlier interruption, his analysis of a new type of magic via the computer was complete. He studied the screen, which displayed, "Your hypothesis analysis has established a new magical system. It is recommended to present this at a conference." Asuma grinned to himself. Perfect, my idea was spot on. The foundational theory for hybrid magic was now complete. Next, I will organize the magical formulas based on their intended use. They need to adapt to modern magic. Accuracy is crucial, and I have had plenty of help. Smiling faintly, Asuma felt a surge of determination. This new path will let me show them by inventing fundamental magic. The next day, in the classroom, the teacher lectured with a furrowed brow, glancing at a notebook. Asuma studied diligently. Whispers from others echoed in the teacher's mind, that student's sudden improvement is remarkable. He might be cheating. We can't take our eyes off him. The teacher eyed Asuma, plotting. Let us see how he cheats on an oral exam. He scribbled a problem on the board. Who can solve this modern magic equation? Pointing at Asuma, he smirked. You, the underachieving student, surely you won't refuse to try. Asuma stood confidently. Of course. He solved the problem effortlessly under the teacher's scrutiny. Writing the solution on the board. The classroom fell silent, students' jaws dropping. Even the teacher was stunned. What? Asuma explained, this theory builds on Professor Jose's calculations from 800 years ago, integrated into magical circuits. It makes highly complex computations feasible, enabling humanity to manage the world through a scientific method called ancasis active. The students gaped, unable to close their mouths. That professor's machine, known as the Dawn Engine, evolved into the smart wand. Asuma continued, pointing at the device on the teacher's belt. You have one too. The teacher stammered, see correct, then muttered, you can return to your seat. Inwardly, he doubted. What trick did he use? Even Tokyo Magic University might struggle with this. The students stared at Asuma in awe as he walked back to his seat, thinking, that is right. I need to apply for access to the magic analysis room again. Riria, witnessing this, admired him even more. At lunch break, a group of students swarmed her. Please, Riria, help us, you are our only hope. We will do anything. Their eyes sparkled like car headlights. We want to get close to him too. Riria sighed, helpless. Just then, Asuma entered. There he is, they squealed. Riria, exasperated, spoke up. I am just asking for them, okay. Nervously, she approached Asuma. Shobana, are you free after class? Want to grab coffee at Ebisu? When he did not respond immediately, she added. If you are busy, no pressure. Asuma pondered briefly as the group held their breath. Then, with a charming smile, he said. I am free, count me in. The crowd erupted in joy, rushing to Riria. You did it, thank you, we are so happy he is coming. Meanwhile, someone watched from the window. A female student with green hair sat sniffing a flower. So that is Asuma, she murmured, her eyes narrowing. Her beautiful face twisted as she crushed the flower in her hand. A surge of energy radiating from her. I will destroy you.